Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Virginia Hunting Bros podcast, where we don't do anything very regularly. How you doing, Lowell?
Oh, you're gonna run with that intro?
Why not?
Okay. Well, it's true yourself.
Two weird people doing a weird podcast. Might as well have a weird opening.
I guess.
Whoops, this chair about fell apart. So, I guess the main thing we're going to talk about is our 2020 season.
I guess. We talked to a number of times about doing this in the season.
Yeah.
And we procrastinated and never got it done. And one of the main reasons we've talked about doing this was so that we can go back and listen to these things when in the future when we forget everything.
Yeah, in 100 years.
Learn from them and remember them and so forth. So.
Yep. I'm looking to see when we did the last one, and it doesn't say when it was, but we did 5 episodes previously.
We've talked about doing this more regularly, and
yeah,
maybe we will, and maybe we won't. But here we are today, late January, after the season. So why don't we talk about deer season in particular? I mean,
yeah.
It came and went.
It came and it went.
It was fun.
And it will come again.
We miss it.
Yeah.
So forth.
Yeah. So maybe if we kind of...
Early bow season?
Yeah. Yeah.
You started off hunting quite a bit in October. Seemed like I couldn't get out quite as much as you, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think it was you were planting strawberries or something. And
probably. Kind of involved with my real
involved
job.
There for a week or two.
But I do remember we were running trail cameras fairly regularly, doing some scouting. I did some of that just for fun. Put you on a deer once. You messed it up.
When was that?
That one over there on that feed tree down there.
What?
Back behind.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't mess that one up.
Okay.
The deer did.
Okay. Anyway, it happened.
Yeah, I had several close encounters with does in the early season.
Yeah, me too, actually. I didn't get out as much, but I remember having stuff close.
Yeah.
Neither one of us killed a deer in the early season.
Neither of us killed one with a bow.
Right. Two or three times you got busted, just random weird stuff happened.
Yeah, at least that's what it seemed like.
Back over here, down there.
Yep. Well, this over here was just the thermals were doing differently than I thought they were supposed to.
Yeah. It seemed like you saw another deer too early in this season.
Yeah.
In some ways it felt good. We were getting on deer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was at full draw. Like I remember, once, twice, at least 2 or 3 times, and just
I'm not quite remembering the details, but
like I saw a deer down here.
All right.
I'm being very vague with how I don't want to give away our spots on our private land.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. This was our first season hunting with saddles.
Yeah,
we were learning about that pretty much throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I don't know that it really cost us deer, but it definitely was a learning curve.
At least one of mine I blame on that.
Okay. Your podium,
the squeaking platform.
Your cheap platform.
Kind of frustrating.
Where was that one at? The squeaky
over behind. You remember that morning that we were back there and you walked through and then 2 deer tried to run over us?
Oh, yeah.
Right back in there.
Oh, back in that spot.
It is a little weird to talk vaguely about private land, but... Yeah.
Well, some of it shared permission land. You can never be too careful with that.
Yeah, and we're pretty sure some of it gets more pressure than public land.
And some of it I don't want. Some of the things I can't tell you even.
Okay.
Where I see the big ones.
Yeah.
So, it was... so
that was pretty much bow season.
Bow season, yeah. I did... So I tried to make a point to scout more, drive. Like if I didn't have time to hunt, I try to drive fields. Even for does, I mean, I don't know. It's just interesting. I think deer, especially in October, can be fairly patternable. That's one of the things, the takeaways I think I learned this year. And so if I saw a deer in a certain corner and I was after a doe, then, go back in there the next night. I mean, use the most recent intel. Running cameras, like that spot down there. Where they busted you, we had cameras there, does were coming in, and you popped in there, and
it was under
it was hot
oak tree
right then, and then the camera went dead, and so I think going back to talking about that, one evening I just happened to have a few minutes before light ended, and I was with my family, but we drove in a place where you can drive in a lane. It's pretty decent in our minivan.
Yeah.
And I saw a good buck. This would have been like the second day of the season. And
it was that early?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a kind of a cold front came through. It was a cool evening. But I saw a really nice deer on a field edge, like just right at, it would have still been shooting light. Didn't get a really good look at him because I couldn't get him quite in my binoculars through the van, but it was a pretty nice deer. So I immediately went back in there the next night, and never saw him.
Yeah.
But that's one of my regrets. I wish I would have targeted that area, put up some cameras, or stage hunted back in there. I feel like what I found out several weeks later when I actually did go back into that area, there was a lot of rubs in there. I think we might could have killed that deer early season if we would have been a little more aggressive. But we weren't, and we didn't.
Well, just the way the season was going, we kind of ended up thinking aggressive is probably a good thing. We had tons of hunting pressure on the one particular
that was especially
land
muzzleloader season, which is first part of November in our area.
But what I'm saying is if we'd been a little more aggressive during bow season, could have got out in front of it.
So things that we're thinking about for this coming year, which we always say that in our line of work, it's just really hard to hunt a lot in November because
You mean October?
Yeah, because we're busy all the time.
Yeah.
And including the weekends.
Yep. Well, so bow season came and went, and then it was muzzleloader season, and it came and went.
Yep.
And something had changed.
What had changed?
Well, that's when you did your little thing.
Okay.
Wasn't it?
So I shot a really nice buck on I think it was on the 2nd of November.
Yeah.
It was on a piece of property we used to hunt, and then couldn't for a long time, and then just recently got access to it again.
Yeah.
Borders our farm. We've always felt like deer hung out there more so than they often did on our land, and we would try to pull them up across, and it sometimes worked
with a food plot.
But we're right on the line that just never seemed very difficult to get them out in daylight.
The main feature is a kind of a 300-400 yard long creek bottom. Used to be a cow pasture. It was quite wide open, and then cows left, and it got very, very thick, and it got logged.
Partially. Yeah. So it's just a great bedding area.
Super thick, at least some of it.
Yeah. A lot of it is. So so I went in there the middle, probably the 20ish something of October. It was kind of a rainy afternoon. I wanted to be, so we know that we have this thick area, and we want to kind of be aggressive, but not be overly aggressive.
Because it is close to home and we can slip out there.
Yeah. So I went in with the wind out of a certain direction, and it was kind of light, misty rain. And actually, I hunted one evening. I was probably more aggressive than I normally would have been. I went in and I hung a camera that evening, and then probably maybe a week or so later, I went back and scouted and hung another camera. And I think I checked the card off that first camera I had hung. Both of these places were kind of on the edge of the thick stuff,
Yeah.
but where stuff were, it was close enough we felt like deer would move in daylight.
Yep.
Found scrapes at both spots, both fringes, and it kind of seemed like deer hubs, so to speak. So yeah, then we at some point we checked camera pictures.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would have been Sunday and then you end up shooting them on Monday or Tuesday.
I think it might have been.
Whoops.
Either that or the week before.
Maybe.
So basically we had one middle of the night picture of this buck that I ended up shooting. That night, a couple things. I was able to hunt Monday evening, and it was a cold front.
You sure it wasn't Tuesday evening? Because remember we had just made the call not to go to Missouri. And I feel like
But we made that on, well, we weren't quite sure.
Okay.
That was Sunday. We were talking about leaving Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the perfect timeline. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. But that was part of this whole equation. We had planned to make our, is it an annual trip?
Well, it's not now because we skipped a year.
It had been an annual trip to Missouri.
Yeah.
During the first part of November. It's just an awesome trip. We love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Archery hunting out there on public land. It's a lot of fun. And our grandpa was not doing well. And in fact, he ended up dying
the day after.
November 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere through there.
Yeah, it's a couple days later.
So because of he wasn't doing well, and it's 15 hours to Missouri, and didn't know about funeral plans and all this stuff, and it's just, anyway, some things are more important than deer hunting. We were unsure whether we should go or shouldn't go, and that was, we were kind of in limbo for a while. Part of the reason I think I was as aggressive as I was in hunting that thick stuff was because I figured we'd be gone the first week of November when that would probably be really good. So I thought, well, we probably don't have a lot to lose. Dive in there, and then I could be gone a while, let it cool down.
Yeah.
So I probably was a little bit more aggressive than I normally would have been.
Which turned out to be the right move.
Yeah. And so, that evening I got out a couple hours before dark. I went in with my saddle to basically one of the places I'd hung that camera. It was not the scrape that we got the picture of the big buck on, but
it's kind of the other end of the gully.
Yeah, it just felt good. The wind I think thermals could have messed me up if it would have been a light wind evening. I'm afraid they would have spun in that bottom and
it was
sucked
fairly
back
windy,
down.
Wasn't it?
It was pretty strong, consistent wind out of the northwest. He had does move pretty early, and I was thinking about not shooting does just because of the time of the year, and I also wasn't quite sure at that point what our plans were yet about traveling to Missouri and all this stuff, and just cleaning a deer, working up. Anyway, one of the reasons we have permission to hunt this farm is to manage does, and so I thought, well, probably should shoot a doe if that's one of the reasons we're here.
Yeah.
So I went on and shot one of the bigger does of the group, and she dropped.
It was a Monday that you shot the deer.
Okay.
Sure enough, yeah.
She dropped. Yeah, actually it was the day before Election Day. I happen to remember
that. It's starting to come back to me now.
So I was happy about that. Pretty much, I was planning to go somewhere with my family that night, and so I knew that was going to throw a wrench in my plans, but it's hard not to be at least a little happy when you shoot a deer.
Yeah.
So
I think you texted me and Dad were out hunting, right?
Yeah, we were all hunting.
You texted almost immediately.
Yeah.
Something about shooting a doe or a doe down or something.
Y'all heard me shoot.
I think Dad maybe did.
Yeah, he was a little closer. Anyway, not too long after that, like a little buck came through chasing the doe. It just felt like one of those evenings, man. Deer were moving, and so I knew anything could happen. So obviously I reloaded, and I thought, well, I'll just stay put because it felt like a good spot. And sure enough, maybe 20 minutes before dark,
That would sound about
25
right.
minutes before
Yeah.
dark, I caught a flash of antlers, a buck coming, kind of quartering down the hill he was heading right for a scrape. I was set up about 30 yards from the scrape.
So did he come from your back left?
He would have come from up where the lane was.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Huh. I was thinking somehow he came out of the thick stuff, but he was coming from...
No, he was coming from back
towards the thick
up the
stuff.
gully, which is where some of the does had went earlier.
Okay,
But
yeah.
the interesting thing was it was a northwest wind, or a southwest wind.
Yeah, it
So he
should've
was
been
quartering
southwest.
into the wind, which would have been on kind of the downwind side of all that bedding area, which I thought was pretty interesting, heading right in for the scrape.
Yeah.
So it made sense from his point of view. He had the wind. He was basically scent checking. I think he was paralleling the trails where those does filtered up through earlier.
Huh.
And plus going into the scrape, the wind was working for him.
So he'd probably stayed on the north side of the thick stuff.
It was just, well, I think he was going to go down into the draw.
Okay.
Maybe. But he could have scent checked that whole area running down through there. And it just so happened it was quartered enough that it was fine for me too.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting situation. One that I think about sometimes. Like, I think we should try to...
Well, wind, as long as it's off of where they're at just a little bit.
Yeah. Heard a podcast the other day. It's called The Killing Wind, where you're giving them the wind. It's working for them, but you're just enough off that it's working for you too. So yeah, he came in.
Or you could just wear a scent lock and forget about the wind.
I guess. He came in, John Eberhard, if you're listening, I really do apologize.
I'm brother. Sorry, I'm sarcastic in nature.
I was trying to get a shot. I was moving through thick stuff, and I could not pick him up in my scope. And I just have a fairly cheap scope on my muzzleloader. And I was like, it's very frustrating. I was panicking because I couldn't pick him up. And finally I realized, you dummy, I had my scope turned up to 9 because I was trying to look at the doe that I shot previously just to make sure she was down. Totally down and done. And so I cranked that back down and I was able to pick him up. And he was moving through pretty quick. He went to the scrape. He was working the scrape. And I knew if he got just past the scrape, I couldn't get a shot.
Yeah.
So he actually one time reared up at the scrape, working the licking branch and stuff. Really cool. Just kind of.
I think we got a picture of that, didn't we? Or was it?
I don't think he was off the ground. Maybe he was coming down. I don't remember.
We got some pictures of him.
We ended up with a burst right after I shot. We got a couple of trail camera pictures.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It was. And anyway, just got a center on the deer. It was 30 yards shot. Smoke. He disappeared, and I heard just a little something maybe, and then I couldn't hear anything at all.
Yeah.
And the doe I shot previously had dropped, and so I was kind of thinking, well, he should have dropped too. It was close, and didn't see any sign of him, and so I started freaking out a little bit. Like, I just missed him. I knew it was big, but I didn't know how big. But I knew it was very nice. Got down quickly because Dad last year had a deer that he shot with a muzzleloader that actually.
That's right.
He knocked it down for a little bit, and it actually got up and went off. We never found it, so that was fresh in my mind. So I thought, well, maybe I better get over there just in case. So I started easing that way, and I heard a deer snort from the thick stuff, and then my heart really sank. I'm like, you goon, you missed him. And how could you miss him? He was so close. And then I eased up, and I think I texted you. I think I texted you and Dad. Like, I missed a big buck. I'm so sick, or something like that. Anyway, because
if you hold on a minute, I thought I might could find it.
Anyway, I really was sick because I really
Yeah.
thought I had missed a really nice buck, and that just doesn't happen. I mean, yeah, it does happen. I miss deer, but I don't get many opportunities at really nice bucks, and so that's what made me sick.
Dun, 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 dun.
You want me
Here.
to say dun 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 a bunch?
Yeah. Yeah, so at 4:53, you said, passed a bunch of does until my finger got too itchy. Think I just had a little buck chase another one by. They're moving. Guess I'll need the truck. At some point, I reloaded. And then I texted and said, oh, by the way, bear season is not in.
Okay.
And then you said, just missed a big one. I'm so sick at 5:23 p.m.
Okay.
And I was like, how do you know you missed? And then you texted at 5:24 and said, no, he's laying here. Oh, my word. And then a little bit later you said, man, he's the biggest one I've ever shot. Wide and heavy. And Dad said, I eased out. Where you at, Lowell?
Funny.
Yeah, that was a funny.
Well, I had also texted my wife too, told her the same thing, and she didn't see it. And then I called her because I saw it, and I'm like, I didn't miss him. He's here. He's big. And then I said, I'm gonna quick get off because I'm gonna walk up to him, make sure I'm gonna be able to shoot him.
We have a picture of you on the phone as you were walking down through there.
Yeah, that's true. And I want to make sure I could shoot. And then I FaceTimed or video called him. And they could see it laying there, and they were like super excited too. So yeah, just
it's just nice when a plan accidentally comes together.
I guess,
that.
Yeah.
No, we did some things right, but there was some fortune in it too.
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah. It was a good area.
Yeah.
I think this year hunting, I already have found a few spots like this, but I'm thinking, thickets, really thick stuff with big primary scrapes, end of October, maybe the first few days of November is something I'm really going to be thinking about.
Yeah.
And,
it's a little like you said earlier, most years we've gone, or the last couple of years, we've gone out to Missouri. So that first part of November, we're not around here. So the whole scrape thing, I guess late October is our main play around here. If we're
and often we're getting ready to go and stuff, so it's really hard to. Anyway, it's
just
nice.
hard in October.
I know, but it's hard to give things the time that we wish we could at that time of the year.
But
I really think cold fronts being more aggressive than we maybe have been used to being.
And we've talked
in November, get the wind and the thermals right.
We've talked about windier evenings or windier days maybe being a benefit for us. I don't know how many times this year I went hunting and I'm expecting the wind to do one thing, even knowing that thermals could affect it.
Yeah.
And then it goes exactly the opposite.
We're trying to learn about thermals. It's a kind of a new concept for us. We were learning about them over the last few years. And they're weird.
They are weird.
And around here, right here where we hunt around our farm, not a lot of crazy terrain. So I don't know that they do quite everything we assume they would do.
Yeah.
Another place we hunt, it is, at least some spots on there, very thick, steep terrain.
Very steep, yeah.
River bottom stuff, but really bluffy. And they do all sorts of funky things down there that we need to keep learning about.
Yeah.
But I also think I went into a spot or two this year that I really think, like I used to not think I could go into certain places in the mornings, and now I'm thinking, you know what? I think I can because of the thermals.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to try a few spots.
Yeah.
In October. Maybe.
And
I just think, man, you can learn a lot from cameras. I know that some people rely on them too much, and they can kind of be probably a mixed bag. But just leaving a camera in an area and letting it soak, I don't know. I'm excited about using cameras a little bit more and using them.
Putting them on scrapes was something we've done that in the past, but seems like sometimes in the past we just kind of throw them on a trail and
Field edge or something.
Yeah, but a scrape seems to be obviously a magnet that pulls them in, and you can get a little more feel for deer.
Yeah, and I just think you can learn a lot, especially if, maybe even not for this year, but I still think they're fairly helpful even for, like, if you get a picture, get back in there. It's the most recent information you have.
Yeah.
But I think but then for the following year, they can be a really great learning tool.
Yeah.
And we just fell into the abyss of the cell camera.
It's not an abyss.
Okay,
it's a
whatever.
tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. But I'm really curious to kind of monitor that and see just deer movement in general. Like,
throughout the middle of the year.
Will it
unless we cancel our.
Will it go crazy for cold fronts in October? If you're running a few of them, you might kind of get a feel for a better real-time feel for what your deer are doing.
Yeah.
Our bucks up cruising late mornings, and anyway, that was another thing I did a lot. So I didn't kill another deer the rest of the season.
True, you killed 2 that one night.
Kept hunting and had a couple encounters or near encounters.
You could have shot a few does at least. Right?
Heard a fight one morning. Passed a few, probably.
You heard that fight that morning, and then we went spotlighting that night, right?
Yeah, which is legal to do in Virginia.
Yeah.
And we saw a really good deer locked down with a doe, basically.
Which we think it was that nice when you
positive
saw
because
at the beginning of bow season, the night you and your family pulled in. Yeah.
But, yeah, that was... I just think most recent information, get in places. I should have been, well, I guess we were fairly close to where that fight was that evening. I took Dawson out actually.
Yeah.
And,
which looking back, I almost wonder if I should have went on the other side of the lane, but
I sent you down. That's right. You
kind of walked towards where I ended up being. I think.
I forgot you were back in there, and then there was that other hunting pressure back in it or somewhere.
The other JQ. Yeah.
I might listen to this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, talking about the most current information, we can just quickly talk about what happened for me at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Then we're getting kind of long in the tooth on this episode.
That's right.
I guess we're making up for a year, so.
I guess.
So towards towards the end of December, we were hunting another place we have access to, and you're doing a bunch of like walking through areas and trying to push deer.
Wind bumps,
whatever. One man drives.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season.
And scouting.
Yeah, and scouting.
I kind of, that's why I like going through the thick stuff, because I can scout.
Yeah. But you popped out a little before the end of shooting light, and I was out already, so I went and looked down a couple field edges and ended up seeing a pretty nice buck, but I couldn't get a shot. And then shooting light was over, so... that was a Saturday night, and the next Monday evening, I think I was in there.
Yeah, you were. He didn't show up.
Yeah, he didn't show up the first night. Then
was it kind of warm that night, maybe, or something?
Yeah, I think the whole week was a little warm.
The whole season was warm.
Yeah,
in a lot of it.
Global warming. Tuesday night he showed up, but it was 2 or 3 minutes after shooting light ended.
Right.
And then, was it Wednesday night that...
yeah, you shot him Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And
So,
then, yeah,
I don't know. It's
your
just,
story.
it's not much more than that.
But it was the same spot.
Yeah, yeah.
And a friend of
There's a
ours
number of other
had trail
deer
cameras,
with
or
him.
a trail camera, right actually in the corner where you ended up shooting him. We didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But he was out. I think he was
Did
out
he
at
get
least
us
at,
on the camera, I wonder?
I don't know.
He never
almost
mentioned
had
that.
to. No, it might have been up far enough. He didn't. But he was out that Sunday night at least.
Yeah.
So you're talking, very consistent,
Yeah.
just on a pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so some of my takeaways for the season, that was really cool. It was a really nice deer.
Yeah. I was quite happy with him.
Yeah.
I like deer that I can shoot and they drop where they're supposed to.
You shot another doe some earlier in
a couple weeks before that, middle of
Dad
December.
shot a couple, Lorraine shot a couple. I mean, we had plenty of meat.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Though we could have killed more. Should have killed more. Want to
still
kill
have more freezer space. Yeah.
So just my takeaways: scout. Scouting is fun anyway, so I've already been doing that. I have all these places, these thick places, overlooked places I want to go. I've been through a lot of them already, and I want to hit a few more. I hunted a lot more mornings this year than I normally do, and I
hunted fewer than I ever have.
I honestly think that mornings in November are really, really good. And I think it's a golden opportunity that I've not capitalized on, and I want to do better in that area.
Yeah.
I just think that cruising, just hearing a lot of stuff on podcasts that for cruising deer mornings and of course I killed my buck in the evening, but cruising deer mornings, rising thermals, good combination.
Yeah.
So I want to scout more, hunt thicker stuff, hunt overlook stuff.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Learn more. I just feel like there's a lot more we can learn.
Yeah.
I think we're learning.
Maybe. Even if we're not, we're banging our head against the wall in different ways.
Having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, it's always fun. Well, mostly. Sometimes it's type 2 fun where it was fun later when you look back at it. But all right, well,
didn't get to a lot of
enough.
public land this year. That was one of my regrets.
Did we even get on any? I don't know if we did.
Yeah, we went over to that one place that one day and tried to cross the river.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Still think that's a good spot. And that's one of the places
too.
I would like to go and scout more.
Yeah. We need to get some neck waders over there or something. Yeah.
Hopefully we can do some our Missouri trip this year. You're talking about going out this spring to do some shed hunting in the west,
possibly
the upper Midwest.
Yeah,
and maybe do some turkey hunting if I can.
I don't think I'm gonna do that.
I think you should.
The more I've thought about it, the more I think that's a bad idea. I don't like turkey hunting that much anyway. But it would kind of be a
possibly kind of a scouting trip for the fall. You think you might have a slot?
I might try to do something first of September, but it's also a stupid time around the farm here. So
right. We have tentative plans we always kind of hope we can go to Missouri. We haven't finalized anything. We have to see how things go this summer, I guess. But that's always a fun trip, and hopefully tag out in Virginia as well. $3 each.
I don't know if you want to tag out. It's a long season. I have a lot of fun towards the end of the season, too.
I know, that's true.
But it is always nice when the first Saturday in January comes around. And you can move on to other things. It's all good, but it has to end at some point. All right, well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening.
And maybe it for the year.
Yeah, who knows? Yep. And we'll be back sometime, maybe.
This is a way of preserving these memories for ourselves in the future.
Yeah.
So you should probably feel a little bad about listening into this private conversation.
If for some odd reason you want to, listen to the other episodes or find out any more information about us, you can head over to vahuntingbros.com. And that's it.
Okay.
See you next time.